Far away, the stars sparkled like tiny diamonds in the sky. The air was warm, and a gentle breeze rustled the leaves. In one of the coziest homes sat an 8-year-old girl, Beauty, her name reflecting the gentle glow of her spirit and her bright, curious eyes. She had just returned from a delightful outing with her parents and stood by her bedroom window, staring into the mysterious night. Beauty's home was modest yet charming, built of warmth. The windows opened wide to let in the fresh night breeze. There are purple flowers just by the sides of each room in the house. Behind her house stretched a lush garden, full of bright green plants, tall trees, and colorful flowers. "What a beautiful night!" she whispered. She noticed something flicker by, and out of curiosity, she came out of her house and realized it was a firefly. The firefly glowed brightly, like a tiny lantern, leading her deeper and deeper into the shadows of the tall trees. Beauty giggled as she leaped from stone to stone, trying to keep up. The firefly seemed to wait for her, hovering just out of reach. "Come back, little firefly," she called out, her laughter ringing through the quiet night. But as she chased it, something strange began to happen. Once so bright and steady, the firefly's light started to dim. Beauty slowed down as she realized that the gentle glow of the firefly had faded and was barely visible. The garden, once enchanting, now seemed eerie in the half-light. The moonlight shone through the trees, casting long shadows on the ground. Beauty realized, with a small twinge of fear, that she had wandered far from home. The cozy glow of her house was nowhere in sight. "Where am I?" she said in a low voice. She held the fading firefly as she sat on the ground, feeling sad. She gently cupped it in her hands. "Don't worry, little one. I'll help you," she said. She looked around and found a dewdrop glistening on a nearby leaf. With care, she dipped her finger into it and gently touched the firefly's wings. Slowly, the firefly's glow began to return, brighter and brighter, until it was as radiant as before. It twinkled happily in her hands, as if thanking her for her kindness. But even with the firefly glowing, Beauty realized she didn't know the way home. The once familiar garden felt different under the cloak of night. She glanced around nervously. Just then, the firefly fluttered up into the air and began circling her, as if it was trying to guide her. "Are you showing me the way?" With renewed courage, Beauty followed the firefly. It led her through the winding paths, past the flowers and the tall trees that seemed to wave at her in the moonlight. It's as if the whole garden was alive. The firefly's glow was bright and warm, like a comforting friend. Step by step, it guided her, until finally, through the trees, Beauty saw a familiar sight. The soft light of her home shining through the windows. Her heart leapt with joy. "Oh, I'm home!" She ran towards the house, the firefly dancing around her, its glow lighting the way. Her parents, who had been worriedly searching for her, were so relieved to see her. Their relief flooded through their smiles. "Where have you been, Beauty?" her mother asked. "We were so worried," she added. "I went on an adventure, and the firefly helped me find my way back home." As Beauty told her story, the firefly circled above her head, its light shimmering in the night like a star. Her parents smiled. And together, they watched as the firefly flew off, its light fading into the dark, knowing it would always be a part of her memorable night. And so, Beauty learned that even in the darkest moments, a little light and kindness can always guide you home. And from that night on, whenever Beauty looked out her window into the garden, she smiled, remembering her firefly friend. and the memorable adventure that brought her safely home. Sometimes the smallest lights can shine the brightest, and even the most curious hearts will always find their way back home.
The sun hung high in the sky, casting a golden glow over the bustling marketplace of Umwaka. The air was thick with the scent of roasted corn, freshly cut herbs, and the earthy aroma of vegetables piled high in woven baskets. It was a busy market day, and Nkemma was already at her stall, neatly arranging yams, peppers, and cassava, while her mother haggled with customers. For as long as she could remember, this had been her routine. Early mornings spent helping her mother at their small stall, serving the endless stream of market-goers who passed through the village square. Nkemma took pride in her work, though it was tiring. Her family didn't have much, but they had their integrity. Her father had died when she was younger, leaving her mother to care for the family. Despite their struggles, her mother always reminded her that wealth wasn't the most important thing in life. It was their good name and honor that mattered most.
Nkemma, my daughter, never let greed steal your dignity. In this world, people may forget the rich, but they will always remember the honorable.
Yes, Mummy.
On this particular market day, a group of city girls appeared, their arrival heralded by the clacking of their high heels and the jangling of their jewelry. They were out of place in the simple rural market, but they carried themselves with an air of superiority that made heads turn. Dressed in fine, glittering fabrics, they looked like they belonged in one of the city's grand stores, not the dusty roads of Umwaka. Nkemma had seen them before. Girls who came from wealthy families in the city, who visited their village for vacations and looked down on the local life.
Look at this one. Selling vegetables like it's something to be proud of.
They laughed, their voices sharp and mocking. Nkemma's cheeks flushed with embarrassment, but she kept her eyes focused on her work, refusing to be drawn into their taunts.
Why do you waste your time here? You could be making real money living like us. All it takes is one smart move.
The girls circled around her stall, their teasing tone turning into something more sinister as they began to explain their proposition. They spoke of a quick and easy way to make money, a deal that required little effort but promised a big payout. Nkemma listened silently, feeling her heart pound in her chest. It was tempting, so very tempting. The thought of no longer struggling to make ends meet, of buying her mother new clothes, of finally being able to live comfortably. But something deep inside her resisted.
What exactly are you suggesting?
There's a buyer in the city who pays a lot for stolen goods. All we need is someone on the inside here, someone who can help us get them. You won't have to do much. Just look the other way and collect your share. Easy, right?
Nkemma's stomach twisted. She knew what they were asking of her, to betray her community, her family's values, for money. The city girls were offering her a way out, but at what cost? The faces of her mother and late father flashed before her eyes. They had always worked hard, always told her that no amount of money could replace one's integrity.
I can't do that. I won't bring shame to my family.
Suit yourself, but don't expect us to feel sorry for you when you're still stuck in this market in 10 years.
The girls laughed again, but this time their tone was more scornful. They turned and walked away, their laughter echoing behind them. Nkemma watched them go, her chest tight with a mixture of shame and relief. Part of her longed for the life they had offered, but a bigger part of her knew she had made the right choice. She couldn't betray her family's honor, not for all the wealth in the world. Just as she was trying to shake off the encounter, an older man approached her stall. He was well dressed, and he carried himself with the quiet authority of someone used to commanding respect. Nkemma recognized him immediately. Chief Kachi, one of the wealthiest merchants in the region. He often passed through the market to inspect the quality of goods for his own trading business, though he rarely stopped at the smaller stalls.
Young girl, I saw what happened just now.
Nkemma's face burned with embarrassment. Had he overheard everything? She nodded silently, unsure of what to say.
I've been watching you for some time. You work hard, and you've shown more character. in that one decision than many adults I know. It takes courage to resist temptation when it dangled before you. I admire that. I think someone like you could do well in business, real business, built on honesty and integrity. I have an offer for you. Come work for me. I can teach you everything you need to know about trade. It won't be easy, but it'll be honest, and you'll earn more than you ever could at this market stall.
Nkemma's heart raced. This was an opportunity she hadn't expected, one that could change her life without sacrificing her values. But could she really leave the market, the life she'd always known? She had always worked with her mother, and leaving her mother to work elsewhere felt strange.
Think about it. I'm not in a hurry for an answer, but when you're ready, come to my warehouse. We'll talk more then.
With that, he nodded and walked away, leaving Nkemma with a decision that would change the course of her life. As the sun began to set and the market quieted, Nkemma stood alone by the stall. The city girl's offer still lingered in her mind, but Chief Kachi's words resonated deeper. She realized that this was the moment her father had always spoken of, a crossroads where her choices would determine her future. Her decision would come soon, and she knew it would define not just her, but the legacy of her family as well. That evening, Nkemma sat under the large udala tree near her family's compound, deep in thought. She knew that if she chose the path of dishonesty, she might gain wealth quickly. But what about her family's honor? Her late father had always spoken of integrity, reminding her that true wealth lay not in riches, but in the respect of the community and one's good name. Nkemma pondered the two options she had and felt the weight of her decision grow heavier. A week after the encounters, she came to a conclusion and visited Chief Kachi at his warehouse.
Have you thought about my offer?
Yes, I have. I want to work for you. I want to learn how to build something lasting and true.
You've made a wise choice, Nkemma. Remember, success that comes too quickly often fades just as fast.
Nkemma's first few days at Chief Kachi's warehouse were tough. The work was hard, and she often came home exhausted, her hands sore from carrying goods, and her feet aching from standing all day. But she was learning valuable skills: how to manage inventory, negotiate prices, and identify quality produce. Chief Kachi took a special interest in her, giving her extra tasks that tested her honesty and diligence. One day, he handed her a bag of money and asked her to deliver it to a seller at the market. It was more money than she had ever seen in her life. As she walked the familiar path, Nkemma thought about how easy it would be to take a few bills for herself. No one would know. But then she remembered her family's reputation. They had worked too hard to stay honorable, even in their poverty. She delivered the full amount to the seller, and when she returned to the warehouse, Chief Kachi was waiting.
You've passed a test, Nkemma. Integrity is the most valuable currency you can have.
Not long after, Nkemma heard whispers around the market. The city girls had been caught in a scheme involving stolen goods. They had been betrayed by one of their own, and now the police were involved. Nkemma watched as they were led away in shame, their fancy clothes and once carefree laughter now replaced with handcuffs and tears. Chinyer, the one who had pressured Nkemma the most, glanced in her direction as she was taken away. For a moment, their eyes met. Nkemma could see her eyes, and for the first time, she realized how close she had come to losing everything. As time passed, Nkemma's work at the warehouse began to pay off. Chief Kachi gave her more responsibilities, and soon, she was overseeing the management of several smaller stalls in the market. Her reputation as a hardworking and trustworthy young woman spread throughout the town, and people sought her advice on trade matters. One day, Chief Kachi called her into his office.
Nkemma, I've decided to expand my business into the next town, and I want you to lead the new branch. You've proven that you have not only the skills, but the moral compass to succeed.
Thank you very much, Chief. Thank you, thank you.
This was a dream come true, not just for her, but for her family as well. Years later, Nkemma stood at the head of her own flourishing business, a market empire that spanned several towns. Her family no longer struggled in poverty, and her name was spoken with respect across the region. When people asked her how she had achieved such success, she would always smile and say,
It wasn't just hard work, it was knowing that some things, like honor and integrity, are worth more than all the riches in the world.
She never forgot the lessons she learned from Chief Kachi and the temptation that could have led her down a very different path. She taught other young girls, helping them build their own futures with honesty and perseverance. The market was still her home, but now it wasn't just a place of humble beginnings. It was a symbol of how true wealth is built with character, not deceit. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Stay tuned for more stories.
Once upon a time in the heart of the animal kingdom, there lived a tortoise named All of Us. He was known far and wide for his greed and selfishness. Whenever the animals gathered food, All of Us would say, "This food is for all of us," and then keep everything for himself. The tortoise mostly gets away with the trick of using his name to take the share of food that belongs to the other animals at social gatherings, until drought strikes the kingdom. Food became scarce. The animals decided to share the little food they had to survive, but All of Us, true to his name, hoarded all his food and refused to share, thinking only of himself. Within a short time, All of Us greedily ate up all his food with the hope of getting more from the other animals. Soon, All of Us fell ill and weak, unable to gather more food. Desperate, he asked the other animals for help, but they all turned away, saying, "You never helped us when we needed it. Rather, you took our share of food. Now, we must take care of each other." Left alone, All of Us realized that greed had made him lose not only his strength, but also his friends. As he lay there, he understood that in the end, selfishness had left him with nothing. And so, the animals continued to live in harmony, sharing and caring for one another, while the tortoise, All of Us, became a lesson in the kingdom, a reminder that greed and selfishness lead only to loneliness and despair.